The air in here? It's completely still. But not a peaceful kind of still. It's heavy, like that moment before a storm finally cracks open, or that split second when you lock eyes with something you shouldn't. 60 seconds. That's our challenge. Just 1 minute to dive into this skeletal giant, this cathedral of rot, and just try, to get a feel for the life it once held. Every tick of an imaginary clock is a step further into the unknown, deeper into a silence so thick it's louder than any noise. This isn't just about looking, it's about feeling the sheer weight of time, the bitter chill of abandonment, and that nagging, unsettling idea that we're not really, truly alone in places like this. Time itself just twists and bends in here, seconds feel like an eternity, and every glance gives you just a fragment of a story. Then, a sound, a sharp, sudden metallic screech rips through the dead air, coming from somewhere deep inside this place. It's not the groan of old metal settling, it's too clean, too intentional. Like a rusted door being forced open, or maybe slammed shut. The challenge, which already had my pulse hammering, now feels like an invitation. From something unseen. Something that knows we're here. 60 seconds. The countdown hasn't officially started, but it feels like the station has its own clock running. There's this heavy pressure, right in my chest, telling me to turn back. But the pull of what's hidden, the dark promise beyond those crumbling arches? It's like a siren song, too damn tempting to resist. What secrets are festering in that gloom? What echoes of people, of journeys, cling to these decaying walls? That first step inside? It's like breaking the surface of pitch-black water. The temperature plummets, not just a few degrees, but with a cold that sinks right into your bones, the kind that whispers of long, dark winters. It's nothing like the air outside. My breath just catches in my throat, not because I'm out of breath, but from the sheer oppressive weight of this place. Then the smell hits you, a nasty mix, damp earth, sharp rust, and this underlying sweet rot. It's the perfume of a place forgotten, clinging to the peeling paint, the shattered bits of old grandeur, and the thick dust coating everything like a layer of gray, malevolent snow. What little light makes it in struggles through grimy, broken windows way up high, throwing these long, twisted shadows that seem to writhe and stretch with every tiny shift outside. They're not just shadows, they're pools of deeper darkness, places your eyes get stuck on, tricked into seeing movement where there isn't any, or maybe where there is. The silence, which was absolute at first, starts to splinter. Not with actual sounds, but with the idea of sound, the faintest rustle that could be wind, or something else. The drip, drip, drip of water, each drop an age apart, echoes from somewhere unseen, a rhythm that's both maddeningly slow and totally unsettling. It's like the station's dying heartbeat. This whole 60-second challenge already feels ridiculous. How can time even exist in a place so cut off from the living world? It's like a bubble of forgotten moments, where the past isn't quite dead and the present is too scared to show up. That initial shock, the cold, the smell, the overwhelming desolation, starts to fade a bit, and instead, everything feels heightened. Every nerve is tingling, a weird mix of fear and, gotta admit, a strange thrill. You can still see how grand this station used to be, even through all the ruin. Ghostly arches reach up into the gloom, their fancy carvings softened by dirt and cobwebs. Huge, empty ticket windows stare out like vacant eyes, the brass fittings looted long ago, leaving only stained outlines, like memorials to a million brief encounters. You can't shake the feeling that you're trespassing. Not just legally, but on a deeper level. Like walking through a graveyard of memories, disturbing whatever rests here. This station doesn't feel empty, it feels full of its own history, the psychic leftovers of every arrival and departure, every tearful goodbye and happy reunion its walls have seen. And maybe something more. That thought, uninvited, sends a fresh shiver down my spine, colder than the station's own breath. The main concourse stretches out before me, a cavern of shadows and whispers, beckoning. The 60 seconds have begun. Making myself move, truly committing to this quick invasion, takes effort, like pushing against some invisible force. My footsteps, which I'm trying to keep quiet, echo way too loudly on the debris-covered floor. Every crunch of broken tile, every little slide of dislodged plaster, feels like I'm betraying the silence, shouting out that I'm here to whatever's hiding in the darker corners. Challenge accepted. 60 seconds to soak in the soul of this place. Sounds like forever, feels like a single heartbeat. Decay is the artist in here, using rust, mold, and time as its paints. Peeling paint hangs in long, diseased-looking strips from the towering walls, showing glimpses of old colors underneath, a ghostly reminder of a brighter past. Water stains run down the walls like dark, sad tears, mapping out how the building is slowly giving up to the elements. Parts of the ornate ceiling have caved in, leaving these jagged holes that show the skeleton of rusted beams above. Through these gaps, you can see a sliver of the bruised twilight sky, a taunting glimpse of the world outside, so close yet a million miles away. Get up close, and you see the small details of neglect. A discarded timetable, its paper yellowed and brittle, lies half buried in rubble. The destinations it lists sound like names from some forgotten legend. The ink is faded, but you can still make out the print, a testament to journeys that never finished, or maybe journeys that ended right here, in this forgotten terminal. Bright patches of graffiti, stark and modern, scream against the muted colors of decay, a clash of times, proof that other, more recent visitors dared to leave their mark. Some of it's artful, some just tags, but all of it speaks of life, no matter how fleeting, in a place that seems dedicated to death. The air is thick with the metallic smell of rust, so strong you can almost taste it. It's coming from the massive iron pillars holding up the roof, their surfaces a messy patchwork of orange and brown. It's coming from the twisted remains of what might have been benches, the wooden slats long rotted, leaving only their skeletal iron frames. And it's coming from the railway lines themselves, visible through a gaping hole in a far wall, disappearing into an overgrown wilderness that used to be a busy yard. Suddenly, a soft, distinct thump from a room nearby freezes me. It's not loud, but it's definite. Not the building settling, not the wind. It's the kind of sound that means something's there, something shifted, maybe something got disturbed. My heart is hammering against my ribs like a panicked drummer. For a second, the 60-second challenge is gone, totally overshadowed by the primal need to figure out what made that noise. Was it an animal? Or something else? The silence that follows is even heavier, loaded with unasked questions. The station seems to be holding its breath, waiting. That's how these places mess with your head. Innocent creaks become footsteps, the whisper of wind becomes voices. But this felt different. A quick, almost silent thought, we've got 60 seconds, is the reminder. The clock is ticking. Not just our made-up challenge clock, but the clock on my courage, the clock on how long I can stay before this place becomes too much. Sinking into decay also means sinking into this hyperaware state, where every detail is huge, every sound is a potential threat, every shadow a hiding place. The decay has a haunting beauty, no doubt, an aesthetic that pulls you in even as it pushes you away. But underneath that beauty is a real sense of unease, a feeling of being watched, of being an unwelcome guest in a house of sorrow. I really want to check out that thump, a morbid curiosity fighting with common sense. But the seconds are just vanishing. The path leads deeper into the station's core, a maze of dark corridors and huge, empty waiting rooms. Every archway is a new doorway, promising more secrets and, probably, more unease. The light changes as I go further from the main concourse, getting dimmer. Shafts of weak, dust-filled light stab through a few windows, like ghostly spotlights, lighting up small islands of detail in an ocean of gloom. These lit spots are almost creepier than total darkness, creating sharp contrasts and deep shadows where anything could be hiding. The walls are like a scrapbook of human history and nature taking over. Faded ads for places that don't exist anymore, or products no one makes, cling to the plaster. Their once bright colors are dull, their promises empty. One shows a smiling family waving from a train window, a cheerful scene made heartbreaking by the ruin around it. Underneath it, a delicate, almost lacy pattern of mold spreads like dark ivy, slowly eating the image. Nature is a patient destroyer, slowly wiping away all traces of us. A sudden scurry in my peripheral vision, too fast to see clearly, too deliberate to be my imagination, sends another jolt of adrenaline through me. Small animals, maybe. Rats or feral cats, they're common in abandoned spots like this. Or at least, that's what the rational part of my brain says. But in this place, rationality is a pretty flimsy shield. The sound is amplified by the echoing silence, every tiny scratch and skitter blown up into something bigger, more sinister. I realize my own breathing is shallow and fast, a frantic rhythm against the station's heavy quiet. The air in these deeper sections is colder, heavier, and carries new smells. The bitter scent of old soot, maybe from long-dead trains or from fires lit by people trying to find shelter. A faint, almost chemical smell that hints at industrial stuff that stopped long ago. And something else, something I can't quite place, organic and unsettling, like damp, disturbed earth, or the smell of something old and heavy. I pass a row of closed doors, their paint blistered, handles missing or rusted shut. What's behind them? Forgotten offices? Storage rooms full of old relics? Or just more empty space, more dust, more silence? The urge to try one, to force it open, is a nagging itch. But time's the enemy. And maybe, whatever's behind those doors is best left alone. Some mysteries are better left unsolved. The silence here is different. It's not just no noise, it's a listening silence. The kind that feels like it's waiting for something. Waiting for a footstep, a whisper, a scream. My own senses are stretched tight, trying to understand every little thing in this environment. That constant drip of water continues, a metronome counting down to, what? A draft, cold and smelling of damp stone, snakes out from a dark corridor to my left. It feels like the building itself just exhaled, a sigh of ancient tiredness. Forgotten things are scattered around like the belongings of people who left in a hurry. A single child's shoe, caked in mud and dust, lies sadly in the corner of what might have been a waiting area. A broken doll, its one remaining eye staring blankly at the decaying ceiling. These small, personal items hit the hardest, speaking directly of the human lives that once filled this space, now just discarded, sad relics. They turn the station from just an abandoned building into a place of loss, a monument to countless forgotten stories. A huge, arched window, most of its glass gone, frames a view of the overgrown tracks outside. Nature has gone wild out there, with trees and thick bushes bursting through the gravel, slowly swallowing the iron rails. It's a powerful image of nature relentlessly taking back its territory, a visual metaphor for the station's own slow fade into nothingness. The scene is beautiful in its desolation, yet deeply sad. It speaks of an end, not just of a railway line, but of an era, of ambitions and dreams that once seemed as solid and permanent as the iron and stone this place was built from. A deeper rumble, almost too low to hear, vibrates through the floor. Not a train, those days are long gone. It's more like the distant throb of heavy machinery, or maybe even the city itself, a reminder that life, loud and uncaring, goes on just beyond these crumbling walls. But here, inside this cocoon of silence and decay, it feels intrusive, alien. The station has created its own world, its own rules, its own strange reality. That feeling of being watched gets stronger. It's not specific, not that prickling on the back of your neck that means someone's definitely staring, but a more general awareness, as if the very walls have eyes, as if the air itself knows I'm intruding. This is what these places do to you, how they prey on your imagination, blurring the lines between what's real and what you're just afraid of. The forgotten history hangs heavy, like a ghostly presence. This isn't just concrete and steel, it's a container of echoes, a storehouse of moments. Who were the people who hurried across these floors, their faces excited with anticipation or etched with the sadness of saying goodbye? What were their stories? The station holds them all, locked within its decaying heart. My eyes are drawn to a section of wall where the graffiti is different. Not the bold, colorful tags I saw elsewhere, but older, fainter markings. Names, dates, bits of messages, scratched into the plaster maybe decades ago. Eleanor, I wait, reads one faded scrawl. Another, barely readable, the last train. These are the whispers of the past, more personal, more haunting than any grand architecture. They speak of individual lives, individual moments, caught in time. Each scratch a tiny, desperate act of remembrance, a refusal to be completely wiped away. The path ahead splits. One way leads towards what looks like a collapsed section of the roof, piles of rubble blocking it. The other goes into an even darker, narrower passage that seems to suck the light right out of its entrance. It's a gamble. The passage promises a deeper look into the unknown, but also a greater chance of getting disoriented, lost in this decaying maze. The rubble-strewn area might show something structurally interesting, but it's also obviously risky. The 60-second clock pushes me towards the quicker, easier route, yet the pull of that unknown passage is strong. It's the constant battle of exploring, wanting to see more, to uncover what's hidden, versus the need to be careful, to stay safe. A sudden, sharp crack echoes from the direction of the dark passage. Wood splintering? Or something heavier, like stone giving way? Impossible to tell. But it's another reminder that this place isn't stable, isn't safe. It's actively falling apart, and we're just temporary visitors, treading lightly on its fragile bones. The mystery of the passage deepens, the sound adding a fresh layer of worry. What if someone, or something, is in there, and its presence accidentally caused the noise? My rational brain argues against it, saying it's just natural decay. But the part of my brain that's wired for primal fear, the part that's wide awake in this place, whispers other possibilities. The shadows seem to gather, to get deeper. The air grows colder still. This is the heart of the suspense, the point where the place itself becomes the enemy, its silence and its sounds working together to unnerve, to intimidate. The station's story is writing itself in these moments, a story of lost grandeur, of departed life, and of the eerie, unsettling beauty found in decay's embrace. The challenge is to capture even a tiny piece of that story, a fleeting glimpse of its soul, before the 60 seconds are up and this world reclaims its solitude. Driven by some instinct I can't quite pin down, maybe wanting to confront whatever's making me uneasy, or just the ticking clock forcing me to commit, I pick the darker passage. The air immediately feels tighter, the smell of damp earth and something vaguely metallic, like old blood or rusted water pipes, gets stronger. The silence here is thicker, as if the narrow walls are pressing in, squeezing out every last bit of outside sound. My own footsteps are now deafening, each one a thunderclap in the oppressive quiet. The passage opens up a bit into what must have been a series of smaller offices or maybe a staff area. Most are gutted, doors hanging off hinges or gone completely, revealing insides choked with debris. But one room, at the very end of a short, even darker corridor, seems different. There's a faint, almost unnoticeable draft coming from it, and the darkness inside feels older, deeper. This is it. The peak. The point where curiosity just stomps all over fear, or maybe where they become the same thing. As I get closer, a glint of something catches my weak flashlight beam, something not made of stone or rotting wood. Pushing cautiously into the room, the beam sweeps across a scene frozen in time, more completely than anything else I've seen so far. It's a small office, clearly. A heavy wooden desk, overturned, lies among scattered, soggy papers. But it's what's on the wall that grabs me. A large, glass-fronted notice board, somehow still intact, though the glass is clouded with grime. And behind the glass, pinned with old, rusted thumbtacks, are notices, staff rosters, and a single, faded photograph. The photograph. It's a group of railway workers, men and women in old-fashioned uniforms, posed proudly in front of a steam locomotive. Their faces are hard to make out in the low light, blurred by time and the dirt on the glass, yet there's this undeniable sense of life, of teamwork, coming from the image. A lost moment from the station's busy past, preserved here in this forgotten, lightless corner. This is the forgotten history made real, a direct link to the people who brought this now-dead place to life. For a few precious seconds, the decay and the creepiness fade, replaced by a deep sense of connection, a moving glimpse into the human heart of the station. Then, the eerie twist. Beside the photograph, a child's drawing, done in crude, faded crayon, is pinned crookedly. It shows a stick-figure family, but one of the figures is scribbled over in angry black, and next to it, a monstrous, shadowy shape with red eyes. It's deeply unsettling, a jarring piece of childhood nightmare dropped into this scene of adult work. Where did it come from? Whose kid? And what made them draw such a disturbing image? The proud workers next to this dark, childish scrawl creates a powerful, unnerving feeling. And then the sound. Not a creak, not a drip. A whisper. So faint it's almost impossible to hear, yet it's undeniably there. It seems to come from the corner of the room, the darkest part, where the shadows are thickest. I can't make out words, just a sibilant breath, a sigh, an exhalation of something. It's not the wind. There is no wind in the sealed-off room. My blood runs cold. Every hair on my body stands on end. This isn't the building settling. This isn't an animal. This is something else. The peak eerie moment has hit, not as something I see, but as a sound confirming my deepest, most primal fear. We are not alone. The presence I'd felt, that sense of being watched, all comes together in that single, chilling whisper. The flashlight beam trembles in my hand as I sweep it towards where the sound came from. Nothing. Just deeper shadow, peeling wallpaper, and the suffocating silence that slams back in, even more absolute now that the whisper has stopped. But the feeling of it lingers, burned into my memory. The room suddenly feels 10 degrees colder, the air thick with an unseen, unknown threat. The forgotten history I'd glimpsed now feels overshadowed by a more immediate and terrifying present. The urge to run is almost overwhelming, a screaming siren in my head. The 60-second challenge, the exploration, all of it means nothing compared to the raw, gut-wrenching terror of that moment. This is the core of the station's darkness, the secret it held, now partly, terrifyingly, revealed. This single room, with its ghosts of the past and its whispered horrors of the present, perfectly captures the terror of the abandoned. If you've ever explored an abandoned place, share your creepiest experience in the comments below. I'm pretty sure this one will haunt my dreams for a while. The station isn't just a decaying building anymore, it's a place with a voice, however faint, however terrifying. A place where the veil between worlds feels impossibly thin. The old relics are a stark reminder of what was, but that whisper speaks of what might still be. That whisper just hangs in the air, a chilling echo in the tomb-like silence of the small office. 5 seconds. Maybe less. Time isn't a neat, orderly thing anymore. It's a chaotic scramble, a desperate escape from where that sound came from. The forgotten history, the moving photograph, the child's disturbing drawing, all of it is now less important than the primal need to get out of that room, to put distance between myself and whatever unseen thing lives in its deepest shadows. There's no conscious thought of exploring anymore. The challenge is over, not because the clock ran out, but because of a terror so strong it doesn't listen to reason. My feet, clumsy with adrenaline, stumble backwards out of the office, out of the narrow passage, kicking loose stones and debris that clatter with explosive loudness in the sudden rush. Each sound feels like a spotlight, broadcasting my retreat. The station, which moments before felt like a vast, indifferent ruin, now seems actively hostile, its shadows deeper, its silence more threatening. The path back towards the main concourse, the way I came, seems impossibly long, a gauntlet of fear. Did I imagine the whisper? Was it a trick of my mind, my hearing playing tricks on me because of the oppressive atmosphere, the stress, the expectation of something creepy? It's the question everyone who explores places like this asks themselves after something unnerving happens. Your logical mind desperately tries to find a rational explanation, while the older, more instinctive part of your brain screams of real danger. The air in the wider corridor feels a tiny bit warmer, less suffocating, but the chill from that room clings to me, a psychic stain. I don't look back. I don't dare. The thought of seeing something in the doorway of that office, a silhouette against the deeper darkness, is too horrifying to even think about. A final, desperate dash across a section of the main concourse. The grand, decaying arches seem to watch my panicked exit, silent, judgmental. The faint light from the broken main entrance, once a dim promise, now looks like a beacon of salvation. The boundary between the station's oppressive world and the relative normality of the outside is just feet away. Do I make it out? Or does something try to keep me? It's all a blur, maybe a sudden lurch, a choked gasp, and then, nothing. Just darkness. An abrupt, jarring end that leaves you suspended, your own heart pounding, echoing the terror of those final moments. The lingering question is the most potent horror. What was that whisper? A trapped spirit? A figment of a stressed imagination? Or something else entirely, something ancient and tied to the very stones of this decaying place? What secrets are still locked within those walls, in those rooms I didn't explore, behind those doors I didn't open? 60 seconds gave a glimpse, a terrifying, tantalizing sliver of the station's soul. But the full story, the true nature of its heart, remains hidden in darkness, in silence, and in the echoes of a single, unforgettable whisper. Would you dare to go back? Would you dare to listen for yourself? Some doors, once open, can never truly be closed again. The terror isn't just in what was found, but in the chilling realization of what might still be waiting, patiently, in the silence of the abandoned. Phew, that was intense. Seriously, words don't quite do it justice. If you felt even a bit of that suspense, that creeping dread, then you get the pull of these forgotten places. If your heart is still racing, do me a favor and hit that like button, subscribe for more explorations into the unknown, and ding that notification bell so you don't miss our next trip into the shadows. We've got so many more stories to find, so many more whispers to chase. 60 seconds. It's barely anything, right? A breath. A heartbeat. And yet, in that tiny sliver of time, a whole world of forgotten histories and real, touchable terrors can just open up. This abandoned train station, like so many decaying giants all over the world, isn't just a pile of crumbling bricks and rusting metal. It's a place full of echoes, where the past just refuses to go quietly. That eerie silence is like a blank canvas, and your mind, with all that history and the unknown pressing in, just paints its own fears right onto it. Mysterious sounds become deliberate whispers, shadows dance with unseen life, and the air itself crackles with the suspense that comes from our deep fascination with, and fear of, the abandoned and the unknown. The challenge was to capture its essence, but what we really captured was a piece of its mystery, a brush with its chilling side. These places make us think about how temporary everything we build is, the relentless power of nature, and maybe, if you listen really closely in that suffocating silence, the faint, unsettling suggestion that we are never truly alone in the darkness. The terror is real, not always from some ghost grabbing you, but from the raw, psychological punch of stepping into a world where you're the intruder, where the normal rules don't apply, and where every creak, every shadow, every whisper could be anything. Or nothing. And that, maybe, is the most terrifying thought of all. Until next time, keep questioning what lies hidden in the shadows.